Hey everyone, it's Nico, and several months ago I did a few videos on some Game Boy Color homebrews that were releasing in the near future, and it seemed like quite a few of you enjoyed those videos, and I really enjoy covering homebrews, NES, and Game Boy Color, so I thought it was time to do another one. So I've got 3 games here that are currently in development. None of these are out yet. And then I have 2 bonus games at the end of this video for those of you that are looking for something to play right now. So stay tuned for that. So the first game that I tried the demo out for is called Sword of the Apocalypse. And it's a action platformer that has a really great visual style, and it has some unique mechanics since it does have 2 separate characters that you can play as. There does seem to be a pretty heavy emphasis on story, as there was quite a few different dialogue scenes that took place during my time playing the few levels that are included in the demo, but I thought this was a really enjoyable game. Now you start out playing as Kaze, which is the male character that is armed with a sword and also has the ability to dodge roll that not only allows you to roll through small passages, it also allows you to dodge roll right through enemies. So this is your melee character with some dodge mechanics. And then the next level you're going to play as Forge, which is the female character that is armed with a gun and that can wall cling and use that to assist in her platforming. So the demo allowed me to play a few levels with each of these characters and then some boss fights and get a good handle on the mechanics. I think this is a fun game. It's definitely a challenging game. I wouldn't say it's too difficult. There was definitely some parts where I died a few times, but I had to kind of learn what I was doing wrong and the best way to deal with the challenges that were being presented. Like sometimes enemies are placed right at the edge of a platform that you're trying to get to, so you might get knocked back. It has that punishing aspect from like the older NES era of platformers where you get knocked back. Like if you've ever been knocked into water in any of the Castlevanias on NES, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But this one was a lot of fun. The music was really good, the visuals were really good. I liked what I saw of the story. I'm curious where that's gonna go. And I also liked that the levels had damage power-ups that are pretty crucial to overcoming the bosses at the end. So I don't know if there's some of these that are hidden really well and I missed them, but I never had more than one. And at the bottom of the screen you can see there's actually 3 spots for your power. So maybe there's secrets that are hidden really well, and it's possible to have a power level of 3 going into these boss fights, which would have made them way easier. But as it stands, I needed like at least level 2 power to be able to overcome the bosses. They're pretty tricky. But there is a demo available for this one, and additionally there is a Kickstarter that's up for about another 10 days or so, at least at the time of recording this. So I'll have links to this game in the description below and all the games that are included in this video. But definitely check out Sword of the Apocalypse if you enjoy action platformers. This was a good time. Then the second game I tried out actually did just launch a Kickstarter as well, but this game seems to be a little bit earlier in its development, and the demo that's out there and available is pretty short. You're only going to get a small sample of what the game has to offer, and from talking with the developer, I do understand that this game is going to grow and expand beyond what's available here, but I did get enough of a sample to say that I'm interested in seeing how this game shapes up. Now this is another action platformer, but this is very much intended to be a Vania style platformer. So you play as a character that has a spear, and it has that gothic setting. A lot of the art in the background looks very similar to the Castlevania series. A lot of enemies will look familiar, bats and skeletons and mummies and that sort of thing. But since there was only like 3 minutes or so of gameplay in the demo that's publicly available, there's not a whole lot I can really say about it. Graphically, it looks really nice, and it controls pretty good. I think I would like it to be a bit more fluid than it is, but it's not at all clunky currently. And then additionally, the music is fantastic here. So obviously, visuals and music are an important part of the Castlevania style experience. They nailed that part, at least from what I played in this demo. So this one, I don't have too much to say. There were no boss fights. There were only like one short little dialogue scene. But from what I saw here in this short demo, I think they have the right idea. And I'm excited to see how this game grows and how it shapes up when it eventually releases. I think they're currently aiming for early 2026. So maybe it's further along in development than I think it is. But yeah, this one was pretty good. So check the description below if you want to try out this short demo for yourself. Then next up was actually a puzzle game. So we're going to shift gears a bit. I've been covering a lot of action platformers in the retro space on the channel lately. So if you're not a fan of those, I apologize. And if you are a fan of those, you're welcome. But this one's actually a puzzle game, and it's called Hungry Huey. And it has a demo available on itch, which allows you to sample its main mode of Chompathon. There are some other modes as well that I wasn't able to try in the demo. There's a time attack and then a Goo Gourmet mode. But this might look on the surface like your run-of-the-mill Connect 3 type of puzzle game, but it's actually a bit different. And it's actually not even a Connect 3, it's more of a Connect 2. And you drag these pieces kind of in lines, and you can, you know, connect them. I don't really know how to explain this. You'll see it better in the gameplay than I can explain because I'm not the biggest puzzle game player. But you can connect these pieces together and chain them together. And then on the right side of the screen, you can see Hungry Huey, and he has a meter that you're trying to keep full. Because if that depletes, you will fail. And it's similar to Tetris in that as you go through, it's going to level up and get increasingly more difficult and require more combinations of the different pieces, which you can see at the top of the screen. The fully bolded numbers are ones that are completed, and the faded out ones, you still need to connect those pieces. And you can only feed Huey with pieces that you need to complete for that particular order. So that's basically how the main mode works. But I loved this so much, and this is definitely one I want to cover the full release for when it is eventually done. But this was such a fun and unique way to take the Match 3 style and make it a bit different. The game is kind of cozy in its presentation, and I really like that. It is, again, in early development, just like the previous game, so it doesn't have any music, it just has some basic sound effects. But this was really addicting to play and a lot of fun. So if a demo comes out in the future that's a bit more expanded upon what's here, I'll cover it again. But if not, I'm looking forward to Hungry Huey. If you're a puzzle game fan, give this one a shot. Leave some feedback in the itch.io page. Most developers are always looking for your feedback to help them improve their game, but I really enjoyed this one, and I am by no means the target audience as I don't play a lot of puzzle games. So that brings me to the second part of my video, where I did want to show you a few games that are available now, so if you need something to play in the meantime while you're waiting for these other games to release, I've got you covered. And the first game I just reviewed a week ago, it's called Nathan and Luke Badasses at Law. It's a precision platformer with some action elements where you go through some linear levels, fight a boss occasionally at the end, you gain some upgrades, you have a dodge roll, you eventually get a double jump, and it has a certain charm to it because it's a humorous premise. Like, you're literally hitting enemies with facts. Facts, yo! And some of the enemies are even Liebats. So in order to get rid of a Liebat, you gotta hit them with the facts. It's a goofy premise, a goofy story, but it's a good time. Graphically, looks pretty decent, and it has some really good music. The controls, spot on, really good. It's very forgiving in the sense that it does not give you a limited number of lives or limited continues. You have unlimited tries. You'll always respawn at the start of your level, so you can get right back into it. this is a good time. So check out Nathan and Luke, Badasses at Law. If you want a more in-depth look at the game, check the description below for the link. And then the second game is one that I've been interested in trying the demo for a while because it looks absolutely fantastic. And that's Dragonyhm, which I only played the demo, but now that I've played the demo, I want to play the full version. But unfortunately with this one, it doesn't have a digital option, at least to my knowledge. I think the only way you can get this game is if you purchase a physical edition through Mod Retro, and you don't necessarily need to have a chromatic, but it is branded for chromatic, but it will play on a Game Boy Color, and most devices should be able to play it that play Game Boy Color games. Obviously, there's a lot out there that do, so don't take my word for it on that, but they do advertise it as playing on the Game Boy Color and chromatic devices. So that's your only option, I think, with this one, but the demo's really meaty. It took me over an hour to play through the demo, so compared to these other games that had demos, like, that's a huge chunk. And yeah, this is an RPG. It's very similar in terms of its combat to the original Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior on the NES, as it was when I was a kid. But you have that one-on-one intimate style combat. You have abilities and spells, usable items, lots going on there. You'll gain XP, level up, increase your attributes, all that stuff that you're already familiar with. But the game also does feature some things that I did see in the demo. There were some mini games, there were some puzzles, there were secrets that I found. There are a lot of different NPCs to interact with. The dialogue seemed to be really charming. The story seemed to be really charming as well. Graphically, I think this looks absolutely fantastic for a Game Boy Color release, and the music seemed to be pretty catchy. They do quote this one at a 10+ hour experience, so that's pretty long for a Game Boy Color release, and hopefully in the future I can maybe do a full review or a follow-up video on the full game when I eventually play it. But I do not currently have a Game Boy Color or a chromatic, which I really would like to get, but just don't have the money right now. I've already spent enough this year on games with the Switch 2 releasing. But I would love to cover this when I eventually have some extra funds to pick up a chromatic and maybe a copy of the game. But check this demo out if you want to try it out for yourself. You will definitely know by the end of the demo whether this is a game for you or not, because it is such a long and large chunk of the game, giving you a sampling of so many different elements of it. But it was really charming, really fun. I really like the intimate level of combat. So Dragonym's a good one. You've probably already heard of it or at least seen it before, but hopefully now it's on your radar to pick it up and play it for yourself. So that's all I've got for this video. I really enjoy covering homebrew games, especially for the NES and Game Boy Color, so I appreciate you watching, and I'm glad you enjoy those types of games as much as I do. I look forward to covering more of these in the future. The best way you can support me and these games is by sharing the video, giving it a like, comment below, subscribe if you haven't done so already, all the YouTube stuff. But as always, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.